So I went and spent a month with my grandfather in Arizona for his 114th birthday. I spent a couple of weeks with him in Chandler, where he was residing at the time. And then I spent the last 2 weeks in a dusty little town called Apache Junction. My friend Mark Sturkowitz let me stay in his trailer in this RV park. It was a Lost Dutchman RV park, to be precise, and it had all the amenities. Well, almost. It had a living room, kitchen, shower. You can even see my shoes down there by the chair, the leopard skin shoes, fake. But boy, was it hot. The temperature climbed to the low 100s, so I used to stay up at night trying to cool off. And one night, a coyote walked past my trailer. We both just looked at each other, but I knew that coyotes were harbingers of abrupt change. And then I returned to New York City. And when I got back to New York City, my good friend, Josefa, she invited me to something called a gira. A gira is a Brazilian blessing ceremony. And I said, sure, I'd love to come. The problem was, though, the night before I was going to go to the ceremony, I had been up moonlighting at a part-time job I had that happened once a week. I used to work for my friend Barry. But that meant that I didn't get home until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I decided to take a nap before going to the gira, because falling asleep wouldn't be cool. And then something very interesting happened to me. Next thing I know, I am walking out of my bedroom, across through the living room to go to the back of the apartment, because that's where the kitchen and the dining room and the bathroom were. And as I'm on my way there, I see my mother standing there, looking fantastic. She's wearing a very chic Norma Kamali raincoat made out of this kind of like white parachute material. She had her hair wrapped in a scarf, a very chic, like Gucci scarf. She looked a little pale, but I remember thinking, wow, if I'd been through everything she'd been through, I'd look a little pale myself. She looked like she was about 30 years old. Standing next to her was my sister-in-law. I was so shocked and surprised to see her and to see them both that I started to fall backwards. You know, it was like I was fainting. At that moment, my sister-in-law picks me up and sets me back down on my feet. My mother looks at me and she says, "I'm really sorry, but I couldn't tell you before, otherwise it wouldn't have worked." And in that moment, I understood what she was telling me was, wherever she had been, you know, in spirit, apparently she'd had a lot of work to do to sort everything out, to be able to come back to see me, to be able to talk to me, which of course is something that I've been hoping for, something that I heard that was going to happen, but that I had basically given up hope that was ever going to happen. Speechless, suddenly I'm standing on the landing in front of the entrance door to the apartment. My brother's there now. My brother's standing behind my mother, and I remember he was wearing kind of a wife-beater t-shirt, which was funny. My mother, looking at me in the face, searching my face, says to me again, "I'm really sorry that we couldn't tell you this before, or it wouldn't have worked." Now, there's two things that struck me about this. Number one was, whenever my mother thought she was at fault or had done something wrong, she would always apologize to me, not once, but twice, which I always thought was ridiculous because you're my mother. Honestly, what could you really ever do wrong to me? My mother loved me unconditionally. That was the first thing. So for me, that was a sign that, wow, this is really my mom here. The second thing is that somehow my brother was in on this. So I looked over at my brother. For those of you who have siblings, there's a way that you can kind of communicate with a look without having to say anything, as if to say, "You knew about this?" In which he shrugged and went, "Yeah." So now at this point, I am reassured that it's really her. I give her this big bear hug and I say, "I am so happy to see you. But unfortunately, I can't stay right now because I have an appointment, and if I don't leave immediately, I'm going to be late." At which point, my mother now looks at me with her mouth open. That was the third thing, because that was something that my mother and I actually experienced in real life. I would get somewhere and she'd be happy to see me, and I had made these plans, and I'd be like, "Hi, Mom, blah, blah, blah," and then like within a half an hour, I'd be out the door. So having said that and having hugged her, I raced back to my room. I grabbed my house keys, which I kept on a hook by the door, and I said to the person sleeping on the floor, get this, he was Tibetan, I say, "I'm really sorry, but you can't stay here anymore. My mother's back and she needs a place to stay." And upon saying those words, bam, I woke up straight out of bed. And I thought, wow, that was so real. That was so vivid. And I thought to myself, but why was my mother wearing a raincoat? And when I looked out the window to check the weather before I left, it was raining.
Service to fulfill the desire of Sri Chaitanya.
You've been listening to my song, Here's the Light, Autumn Collection. Thank you for watching EkayaniMusic.
Hey, it's Ekayani. Here comes the music video.
Who has established within this material universe